Hey, fellow East Coast surfers. Welcome to the Surf Metrics Surf Forecast Show. This is the first show, actually. I'm going to first start by, well, first of all, there's an exciting pattern that's setting up with a lot of wave potential over the next week to 10 days for the East Coast, the entire East Coast. And I'm going to start by just going over a few of these potential swell makers in terms of showing the wind field and how it may affect these different breaks that we're surfing. So this is current right now. We have an inverted trough from about Jacksonville, Florida, up to Cape Hatteras, as you can see. The inverted trough is a situation where you have southerly to southeasterly winds offshore over the Gulf Stream. And then with the cold nearshore water, a lot of times it'll develop this basically a area low pressure along the Gulf Stream, and the winds will switch, as you see here, from southeast to northeast right along the coastline. We see this all the time in the winter. Okay, as we get out to Thursday is when the first strong system is going to come through. We have a southwesterly flow ahead of this front that's going to approach on Thursday. And right now, the models are showing winds up over 25 knots, which is a good wind speed to generate swell in the 8 to 9 second period range pretty effectively. As you can see here, the strong surge starts off Florida, and there's a nice fetch all the way from Florida up into the mid-Atlantic, and New Jersey and even New York will experience this swell to some degrees. It's not the ideal direction. We'd love to see more south, the southeasterly flow to generate swell for all beaches, but the south-facing beaches will certainly feel a lot of this swell that's generated on Thursday. I'll go into detail showing the surf for these various swell events in just a little bit. And then the next one's on Sunday. So that passes through the front actually sags south here on Friday, and you can see here the flow is more east, directed east as that front drops down. And this is where Florida is going to get a lot of swell generation. And then on Sunday, for Florida, actually the winds switch back from the southwest, and that's offshore here. So we'll see some of the swell that was generated with the easterly flow that there will still be swell coming in with some offshore winds. So around Sunday, there's going to be good surf in the Jacksonville, Daytona Beach area. But further north, you again get even stronger flow with this second system, 34 knots, substantial numbers for the wind, and it's going to generate a longer period swell, wind swell for areas of the East Coast. And I'll show that in the surf forecast. The late next week, there's potential for an even stronger system that develops. The models are showing at least they have a signal for a strong storm that could actually develop off the East Coast, and more of a classic. They call this a Miller type A situation where you have a low that develops in the Gulf of Mexico, traverses Florida, and then essentially bombs off the East Coast. And this is where we get our best surf. And you'll see this in some of the forecasts as potential, at least. This is very uncertain as we get this far out, and I'll show that in our spaghetti waves. First time I've even considered forecasting for Long Beach, New York. So, I'm not an expert at this break. I know, what generates swell and what to look for. And this is a south-facing beach, so we're looking here for mainly south swell, and it looks like there'll be plenty of that over the next couple weeks. The first swell on midweek and around Thursday. We'll zoom in there, and this looks like waist maybe stomach high potential, maybe even chest high. 8 second period. This is more southeast though, so this is not coming in directly uh, to Long Island, but the southeast nature of this may help with, uh, potential lefts as southeast swell comes into Long Island. You would tend to have more open lefts versus rights, I would suspect. But something cool here is starting to show up here in the wind favorability. It looks like we're going to see a wind shift midday Thursday, and even by the afternoon, offshore winds with this southeast swell, about 4 foot surf zone potential. So that equates to about stomach high with a nice 8 second period for these beach breaks. So look for that on Thursday. Also, if we zoom back out and look at this bigger event here on the over the weekend, again, this is all the East Coast beaches that, especially the South Basin beaches, are picking up on this swell event, this wind swell event. And what's good here, I'm zoom out just a little bit. So you can reset the axes here by double clicking or going up here to this toolbar, and it set resets for the whole time period. So I'm going to rezoom so I get a better, so I can show this a little bit cleaner. So for New York, another south swell event, and even bigger than the one on Thursday, with potential overhead surf or head high surf. A lot of the models are showing this, so we have some agreement here, and this was, I discussed this in some of the other some of the other breaks further south along the East Coast, but in this case, we have more southeast swell, and the period is up to 10 seconds. And that, the period is super important for these beach breaks. And the period here is directly related to how strong the wind blows and how the fetch that the wind blows across and the duration. So I suspect in this case, to get this 10-second period, it's a strong surge in southerly winds from Florida all the way up close to New York that's generating this longer period wave than some of the beaches further south. So this is super potential. And what's exciting about this, what I'd be stoked about if I lived there, is the wind is favorable all day Sunday. I showed in New Jersey it was favorable in the afternoon, and here it's all day, even earlier Sunday morning. So it looks like a full day of super surf there on Long Island. And then if you move in, we always, get this residual swell the next day, and the wind stays favorable on Monday with 4 foot, 10-second period all day. It looks like all day Monday. It'll drop off quick Monday, but at least in the morning, there's great potential for surf. So I'm going to zoom all the way back out and not touch anything after that. As I said in a couple other discussions for the other breaks, this is variability after a week, especially next Wednesday onward. You just can't believe any of this. There is some signal here, as with other breaks, that there will likely be a disturbance next week, mid to late next week, but the specifics I would really discount at this stage and just kind of focus on these next two swell events as primary surf opportunities for all of you up around New York.